How's everybody doing? Okay? All right. Guys, first and foremost, obviously really excited about the win and, overcoming some things that we've got to get adjusted. Obviously, guys, in case you haven't figured out by now, I'm a pretty passionate guy, pretty emotional guy. I want what's best for this university and this organization and program moving forward. And, there were some real teachable moments in that game as far as, just things we can't do to hurt ourselves or hurt the team. And, they've been addressed, and we're moving forward to this next opponent. I think the one thing is to take out of it is really how hard we played. I mean, the one thing that stands out on video is really this. Our guys played their tails off, and that was great to see. They figured out how to overcome some momentum swings in that game. We figured out how to overcome, some penalties and some things that ultimately hurt us in the end of it. But it's good. Sometimes you got to win that way, and every time we have an opportunity, and I'm no different. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's about evaluating. It's about moving forward and, building on what we did and going into, a game this week that now, obviously is is something that's going to be a big task going into Kentucky. I thought, some guys really played well. I thought, defensively, there was some great efforts. I think our defensive line played really good. Bullard really showed up. I think those secondary guys, without Vernon being in there, that played a lot of snaps, they really played hard. And even, in the very first touchdown that we had, Quincy was in great position. Guy made a really good throw, and their receiver went up and got a rebound and took it out of the air. So there were some really good points there. As guys playing, offensively, I thought that their defensive line and movement took it to us a little bit, and yet, we had some really bright spots up there. I thought Fred Johnson did an excellent job, and Sharp had a really good ball game as well at the tackle spots, and there were some good communication things moving forward. Quarterbacks, just played okay. Didn't throw it to the other team necessarily, which is a good thing. Ball security is something that we need to work on as a whole offense. And but I think just recognizing and making it happen just a little bit faster is something we've got to work on, especially down the red area. And there again, overcoming some unforced errors down there and not being able to put points on the board is something we've got to do moving forward. From an injury standpoint, this week, Alex, we need to take a look at his shoulder, and it's something that he's had previous, so we're getting that looked at. So that's really unknown right now. Vernon, we should know more as the week goes. I'd say right now probably questionable, but we'll update all this stuff obviously on Wednesday when we have some practices under our belt. Case Harrison, and he's a guy that's really been playing good, especially on special teams for us. Has a deal with his thumb that we're getting looked at, so I don't know where that's going to be. Martez, we're going to try to get him out there in some drills this week and kind of see where that knee is, and really looking forward to that return as well. Keanu Neal will be ready to roll, which is, there again, just getting some guys back. And so that should help us moving forward there. Jordan Sherritt came off with a little bit of a foot, but seems to be okay. We'll know more, obviously, as we go through the week. So that's kind of where we're at from an injury standpoint. This team that we're playing, it's not your same old Kentucky. These guys are really good. You can tell the influence that they've had in the 3 years they've been there. Obviously, the commitment from the university and the school in $165 million that they're putting into the program both with their stadium that we'll get a chance to see for the first time, and they'll finish off their football standalone complex, updating it here next year. And you can tell that there's a true commitment to what they're trying to do, and you can see by the way they play. I mean, that each year they're getting just a little bit better, and you can see how opportunistic they are on defense. You know, a team that led the SEC a year ago defensively as far as scoring touchdowns, and they haven't let off this year. You know, the 2-point conversion that they picked up and ran back this last ball game, and then scored on a fumble return in the first ball game. You really see what these guys are doing. They've got a couple guys coming back that had been suspended. So, you know, I can't speak for, you know, seeing them on film this year, other than I know that they're highly regarded players that can be put into some spots, you know, as they're moving forward. You know, offensively, I think everything starts with the quarterback. He's an experienced guy. Obviously, they've got a new coordinator, but same system tree, I guess, is the best way to put it. What really shows up is how they use the 3 backs, and those are all 3 legitimate SEC backs. The different personnel groupings that they play cause you issues. Everything has a run-pass option. You can see the quarterback has a real command on what he's doing, and you know, his numbers and efficiency show that, especially after you see what he did last week. And you know, up front, they've got linemen back that have played in this league. They understand what it takes. So, you know, I look at this as one heck of a challenge for the Gators this week, and you know, looking forward to, you know, getting back out there and putting a plan in to help us be successful, and going on the road for our first road trip. And should be a lot of fun, should be a great environment to play in. I know that they're really excited about what they're doing down in Lexington, and should be. So this will be one heck of a challenge for us as a program.
Yeah, Coach, 2 questions. One, what's your plan now at quarterback, now that you've had these kind of 2 audition games? And
you know, and Pat, it's one of those things, we stayed up all last night and reevaluated everything we did again. You know, I'm not sure we're ready to say. You know, I foresee right now probably both guys playing. Both had good things. Both had things we need to work on. But there again, I look at them as they weren't fatal flaws. You know, they weren't just, you know, what some of those real kind of scratch your head deals. As much as I really believe we're getting better. And again, just another opportunity. So, you know, I'll let you know kind of the plan moving forward. But as of right now, you know, both guys did an okay job.
And secondly, did you get much feedback from the tirade with Kelvin? I mean, publicly, or obviously it went pretty viral.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And you know, at the same time, you know, there's lessons that even I learned, and yet, you know, we've talked about, you know, acts that hurt the ball squad, and you know, by that 15 yards, they ended up getting a heck of a return and put us in a predicament. And you know, it's one of the things that we've got to learn is, look, unforced errors are something that we can't do, and really good teams, prominent programs, it doesn't happen to. So we just need to keep moving forward.
Edgar and then Gene. Edgar over to the right.
Edgar?
Yeah. Hey, good morning.
How'd you do on your camera today?
I'm still learning.
Okay.
So yeah, you're talking about learning. I mean, did you learn something from
Yeah, I definitely did. Obviously, as I told you during the post press conference, you know, my emotions, it's something I think I've even talked to you guys about. I'm pretty passionate about what we do. I probably shouldn't have written any of the columns based on my grammar, which I think I said, and it's one of those things I've got to learn from. There's no doubt about it, and I'm not proud of it, and neither is my mother. And that, you know, 95, 94 years old, I got an earful from here too, and rightfully so.
The other thing, Greer seemed, in a position to maybe grab the quarterback job? Did at least from where we were sitting, I mean, you're seeing more nuanced things than we are, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think.
And do you feel like he kind of had a chance there, an opportunity, and then was making
I
some
thought
risky throws?
I thought they both did. I think Treon had an opportunity there when we came in the red area, and for whatever reason, kind of sputtered a little bit. Obviously, coming out after half, there were a couple throws that Will made that, to reference it again, I think Bob Euchre would have had fun with, and just don't quite know, don't have an answer for that, but they were at least pointed in the right direction.
Gene, over to the left.
Jim, do you, in any way, do you have actual regrets in terms of? I haven't heard you use the word sorry yet publicly, and I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
are you
I
kind
don't.
of straddling that line.
No,
or?
I don't feel good about it. I mean, anytime that, because as you know, this is a very public job. It's a public thing that we do. I understand that I have a long ways to go and I make mistakes. I absolutely, and yet, I've got to make sure that whatever it is, we can't hurt ourselves. And, probably the frustrating part is we had really made some strides, I think, to do that. And there were more than that instant, Joey Ivy as well, who got called for leaving the bench with his helmet off, in a celebration with his teammates. Those are all things that's 30 yards of unmarked penalty. And I think, we've come a long ways. I'll point to one of the best things that really happened is at the end of the game, Davis tackling McAllister to get down because the game is won. And when you watch film, number 22 for them, their running back, was chasing and was in pretty good position to pop that ball out. And that's the only way that you're going to lose that game. And so I think there was some really good things that went on, as we go, and we'll keep growing. And, am I proud of it? Absolutely not. Do I feel bad about it? Yes. At the same time, I've got to understand my mistakes as well and learn from it and go forward.
Just to clarify, so you don't regret the criticizing your player part. Do you just regret the extent to which you did it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And, like I said, I'm by no means perfect, and I do know that our players know how much I care about them. And I don't know, at the end of it, it also was a hug in learning from it. So.
Thomas, over here to the right and back.
I think someone used the term audition games, not to take anything away from those two teams, but you're getting into SEC play now. Do you shrink the amount of rotation you have going on kind of at all positions at all?
Yeah, we I think definitely, I think in this last game even there, really the three tackles did most of the rotation offensively. Defensively, we still have to stay fresh, with the pace that people are playing. And those guys deserve, a lot of reps over there as well. So that rotation will probably stay the same. And obviously that has a lot to do with what's going on with Vernon, in the secondary as to how those pieces fit. So, but, we'll still rotate the running backs, like we have. And, KT will carry the bigger burden of everything, just as it has the first couple. But I do think we need to keep him fresh because I do love the way he plays the game with passion and goes 100% every time. And so, that'll be something there that we still need to – we can't beat him up, and I don't think that's what we want to do there. Receivers, I kind of like the way we're playing about, 7 to 9 guys in there. And, keeping those guys rolling. We're rolling 3 tight ends, which kind of probably where we thought we'd kind of be. And with Cameron Knight really, still in the picture and doing a good job as a true freshman.
Kevin, to the left.
Coach, if the behavior doesn't change with the unsportsmanlike penalties, would you consider the bench as an option for kids? Or
Well, I think one of the things that, you learn is take something away that's important to you. But, it's also, just understanding and learning.
And your thoughts on Cronkite and some of the runs that he had on Saturday
Yeah,
night?
I
What kind
thought
of role
he,
could
I
have?
thought he did a really good job, and Scarlett did a couple good things too. We've just got to make sure we understand the ball security, one of the most important things that we do. So, did a heck of a job.
Nick,
Coach, is it frustrating at all for you? You mentioned both quarterbacks have kind of had an opportunity to pull ahead. Is it frustrating for you to see Trayon, the offense, stall in the red zone, or to see those things from Will? Because you can think, hey, if I see what I need to here, maybe this whole thing will be over and I'll have one guy.
Yeah, and yet, it isn't just them. There were some other pieces that hurt, when you penalize yourself. Being able to overcome those is really what it is. So, a lot of it goes back to the other 10 around the guys as well that we've got to get shored up.
to the left, Coach.
Is it frustrating or distracting in any way that the team's starting SEC play on Saturday and everyone's just talking about blowing up at Kelvin Taylor?
It is kind of interesting, but that's the life we live now. Everything's public, right? Everything is that you're going to make a story out of whatever you can. I get it, and yet at the same time, I know our guys are focused on learning from the past and moving forward to go play a really good Kentucky team.
Jesse over here to the right.
With the unknowns of Anzalione's injury,
Yeah.
what's kind of the concern at linebacker there? He's probably the most versatile guy, best cover guy in the group. Obviously, McAllister and Morrison and Davis have played a bunch, but
Right.
What's kind of the thinking there moving
Well,
forward?
and Powell, and as we kind of move forward, DMAC, those guys have got to get in there too. It really where you get, we were thin at that position. We knew, kind of talked about going in. Those guys are going to have to play a bunch more reps. We've done a pretty good job of keeping them fresh in a rotation, and it may mean a little more dime, at times, based on different personnel groupings you're going to see, to be able to kind of take some pressure off of the position.
And then one more, Steve. With the quarterbacks, what is the thinking that goes into these guys? Seem to be a little out of sync when they come back. Greer started much better. Trayon goes in, then Greer, struggled a little bit. How much do you guys, in the evaluation process, look into that?
I think, the week before it might have been the other way, Yeah, you're right. I think it's just a preparation that's got to happen. And, when it's your turn, get up and make the free throw.
Mark over to the left.
I'm curious why Kelvin went back in the game immediately. You made it pretty clear here a month ago that if guys do those kind of penalties, they're going to get yanked out for a considerable amount of time.
Right. And he obviously, it's one of those things he understood. Whether he starts this week or whatever, there's going to be, and yet, the teachable moment, and let's move forward, and that's kind of what it is.
And how do you think DeMarcus Robinson responded? Had a pretty good game.
I thought he did. I thought he played consistently and played with some speed and tempo, and like I said, you just got to learn from what we do, or what we all do, me included, and I think that speaks, I think, for D-Rob's kind of coming back, and I thought he played pretty good. He did his job, which I was real glad to see.
And is there anything we're missing on Jake McGee? We thought he was going to be this big integral part of the offense, but he's been missing a little bit. Anything we're missing there other than the fact that Goolsby and Keontae Lewis have played really well?
I hadn't really thought of it maybe that way. I think I look at the position group. We've used that position group to make some plays, and for whatever it is, their number was called and came up in the progression. So I don't look at it as maybe something Jake is or isn't doing.
He's not like staying in blocking.
Yeah, we have a rotation with those guys, and I think we're pretty good at that position. So.
Zach over here to the right.
Jim, going away from the criticism of players during the game and on the field, you've shown, in here in the press room, that that you're not afraid to, call out guys if they're not meeting your standards. Not
Well,
all,
I don't think, particularly a individual, I don't think we, there's a certain standard that we've got to start to strive to achieve. And I think we're getting there.
No, I mean, not all coaches do that in the media setting. Some like to keep it in house. But the players after the game, I asked them. They said that they like that you do that. Kelvin tweeted yesterday that he loves you. You're trying to make him a better person. Is that refreshing to hear? And where does that come from with you as a coach?
Well, look, I give everything for these guys, and why you go into coaching is to help these guys not only be better as players, but help them kind of understand big picture things as well. And this is a fun group to be around, and I really enjoy being around them. And we try to treat them like they're our own, and yet give them an opportunity and realize that we all have choices.
And then on offense, you guys are obviously young there. Defensively, you have guys like Bullard, Antonio Morrison, Hargraves, who are leaders. Do you feel in any way that on offense you guys are lacking that level of leadership to this point, and do you want to see more guys step up?
I don't know the leadership part. I think the leadership can come from within the team. I think we're still finding ourselves offensively. And yet, I go back to the original statement. I was really impressed with how hard, they're playing. And that's a good thing. We had some explosive plays, that helped us, which is good because I know that's one of the things we had talked about earlier, kind of explosive playmakers and that kind of thing. Still like to see us get a little more out of the run game. But we'll keep working.
Landon over the right.
Just more on Cronkite. Obviously, he's had 2 very good games. How much does that speak to his preparation, in fall camp?
Yeah, no, he and the other Jordan also, both those guys, came in here expecting to play and haven't disappointed. And so I think one of the things they're able to do that really helps at that position is they see how hard Kelvin Taylor prepares and practices. So it really gives them someone to look at because that's one thing, he does a great job in practice.
Just as far as the offensive line, how would you evaluate their performance this past Saturday?
I thought it was just, like I said, I thought the movement hurt them. We had some guys beat us across our face, and, we're going to see that this week again. And obviously, every time you put something like that on film, then you're going to see it more the next time. So we've got to get that shored up.
Straight in the back, Coach.
Coach, the last guy in your shoes was pretty fiery as well, so it's not something necessarily new around here. But is that fiery coaching style something you experienced as a player? Was it something you picked up at Alabama?
I don't know whether it was there. I got my dad let me know when I wasn't, growing up, and played for some guys, coached for some guys along the way, and yet I'm not saying it's right.
Graham over to the left.
Have you talked with Kelvin since Saturday night?
Yeah,
How did that conversation go?
it's great. We talked about how hard he played and talked about the lessons and hugged him just like I did after the incident happened. So, yeah, he's good.
Nick over here and then Edgar.
Coach, with Alex Anzalone being out for who knows how long, does Anthony Harrell factor into the mix?
Yeah,
there at all?
he's a guy that just because of numbers, he's a guy that's been playing for us a little bit on special teams and does a good job. He missed, about a week and a half at camp, so he was a little behind anyway, but he's a guy that definitely has to step that up.
And you also mentioned on Saturday we lost special teams, talked about you want the return game to really be an offensive play for you guys. What do you need to see there?
I think when you see the one, that we did hit on time, gave us field position, and then we allowed us to go down and score. A couple of them, they did a good job of kicking away, and, we kept it in. But overall, obviously, we had a couple missed field goals, which, I've got total confidence in him. He'll get that corrected and kick them through. And then even though we had a pretty good punting average, it would have been a lot better, other than the one Johnny kind of got off the side of his foot and delivered to a lucky fan in the crowd.
Thomas in the back.
Jim, you talked about wanting to get a little bit more out of the running game. Last week you talked about the offensive line just in terms of getting off the ball, pad level, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What was your evaluation of the steps they took from week 1 to week 2 and still what you need to do?
I think there was really good communication. I think we were a little late in the footwork part of it, but I think you saw real good communication in what they were seeing. And they're going to see some things this week at even a higher pace. They do a really good job defensively, Kentucky, as far as getting up there and giving you some different looks and mugging the backers up and causing you to, really be on your game and bringing some guys from different, showing you something, but then bringing it differently each time. So, keying the safeties and some things is really going to be, we're going to have to be on that.
A couple final questions go. Anthony, right here to the right.
Anthony?
How would you evaluate Alex McAllister and Marcus Maye's play in their return? And do you expect them to have a bigger role?
Yeah,
against
I think
Kentucky?
both guys, they were excited. I'm sure glad they're back. Made some plays. Made one a couple here or there back, but that's all part of it. And we're obviously a better team with them playing.
Kevin over to the left.
Coach, you alluded numerous times to how hard the team played, the passion, the emotion. How do you balance that between the self-inflicted wounds? I guess it seemed to work better in week 1 than week 2.
Well, I think it goes back to, I think we, hit on it a little bit post-game about the day-to-day attention to detail. And when you don't do that at times, that carries over into what you're going to do on Saturday. And as I said, I think there were some indicators from the week, and yet at the same time, sometimes you got to touch the hot stove, and it's got to burn a little bit, and take your hand off to learn, and I think that happened a little bit. Is that right? I should have watched his press conferences then.
Edgar over here to the right.
Have you gone deep into a season, kind of platooning quarterbacks, and are you okay with a hot hand approach
Yeah,
with these guys?
we have. I think we did it in, 86 and 89, 97 maybe? No, 96, 97. So we've done it. Results, I guess, mixed bag of results, but, I'm more concerned that, we got to continue to get better at the other positions as well to develop some consistency.
Jared Davis was kind of open the season. He didn't play a ton the first game, I think, or maybe until later. How do you think he seized his opportunity?
Boy, I tell you, he played a ton. He played on every special team. I mean, he's a guy that we knew is very important to this team based on how hard the guy plays and how hard he studies. And I think you're right, and I'm glad you saw it. I think his play really showed up.
We'll wrap it up with Gene and then a question in the back and final. Gene over to the left.
Jim, are you seeing the want to out of Ahmad Fullwood that you said that you've wanted to see from us?
I'm glad you asked that because the one little smoke that we spit out there in that drive after our long kickoff return, when he took that thing and, really said, I'm not going to be denied, and really took it to the defender. I saw this, it was great, man. It was like, and we need him, we do. And so there again, I think that was proof. And I think I'd said even the week before, he did some really good things, that didn't necessarily show up in the box score. But I think that in particular really was, to me, was really good to see.
We'll wrap it up in the back, straight back.
Coach, Jordan Scarlett has drawn comparisons to Trent Richardson his time at Alabama. Do you see much overlap there, or do you see Scarlett developing into the kind of player Trent was at Alabama?
It's he's a guy, and Jordan Concrite as well are guys that, both really got great tools. And, easing into that college game and you know, the physicality, the weekly preparation, the ball security are all things that come. Both guys love to play, and I'm sure glad they're on our team. Thanks, guys. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
right, guys, got Trip Thurman here. Good in the back. All right, open it up for questions. Start, Gene.
Trip, from a player's point of view, could you just address how coach handled the whole fallout from the other night, and just from a player's perspective, what's your feelings on it?
In my opinion, I think he did the right thing. Like any team, head coach is a father figure, and he only wants the best out of his players. And I think what we're trying to do as a team is, I mean, not do the throat slash and kind of cut down on penalties. But Kelvin knows what he did wrong, and we learned from it, and we're going to move on. Coach loves us all.
As a follow-up, did you have any problem with profanity?
I did not have a problem with the profanity. I mean, it's the heat of the moment. Things happen. Guys make mistakes all the time. We make mistakes too. I didn't have a problem with it.
Max said the defensive line was doing some shifting, being able to get across your guys' face. Heading into SEC play, how do you look at that game film and make the corrections you need to this week?
Yeah, I mean, as an O-line, and being SEC and ECU, is obviously they couldn't really play head up against us, so they did a lot of slanting and blitzes. So it was difficult up front, in a sense of being a young O-line and not knowing if there's a guy on the ball that he's going to slant inside, they're going to pile it under. But I think improving on that film and just working on our footwork this coming week and kind of working ahead, pre-snap reads and where the defensive line is going to go.
Kentucky probably can play head up with you guys, but once you put something like that on film, it's kind of a copycat thing. Teams just say, hey, that worked, we should try that. Are you worried at all about young guys now having to worry about a guy playing head up on them with stuff from last week also coming back in?
Yeah, I think Kentucky's a good team, and they're a good defensive team too. I know they lost a couple of D linemen last year, but I think it's safe to say we need to be aware of the slant and movement up front with Kentucky and the rest of the teams we play this season.
Thomas on the left.
Trip McElwain said that your communication took a big jump from week 1 to week 2 in terms of the O-line, but that they still kind of took it to you a little bit in terms of just the movement up front. How do you get from, getting the communication part down to starting to push guys off the ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's when young guys come in, it's hard to pick up the speed of the game. Communication helps a lot, and knowing what to do, pre-snap read. I think this week we just need to work on our footwork a lot up front and kind of getting a good look from the scout team.
Edgar on the right.
How will Martez Ivy's return help?
It will be big as far as depth. He looked really good in preseason camp. I don't know when he'll return, but
Said he's going to try to get him work this week.
yeah, if that's the case, then I think it will be a big help up front. I know he's still a young guy, but he knows a lot of football already.
So 28-game winning streak against Kentucky, are you guys aware of that? I think we ask you about this every year, but obviously no one wants to be the team that ends with. I would just.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, no one wants to end that streak, but I think we're just focusing on the game plan this week, and I could care less if we have a 28-win streak. I mean, we lost to Vanderbilt at a homecoming 2 years ago, and that, I mean, it's kind of one of those games where you don't just roll your hat out there and expect to win. We still need to do what we need to do up front and communicate on offense. It's about us. It's not about what they're going to do. It's about what we need to do.
Kevin on the left.
Yeah, Trip, it wasn't just Kelvin, also, Joey Ivy, too, earlier in the game after a touchdown. Just how difficult is it for an 18 to 21-year-old kid when you have the crowd like that, not to kind of cross that line, and how much is kind of McElwain trying to, what's he doing to try to deter that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough on any program, especially in a venue like the Swamp. The excitement, you get chills down your bones. Things just come out. I think Mac gave a good point with Kelvin, and although it might not have been the right way to go about it, he definitely got his point across to us and how he wants to run the team and how we need to present ourselves to the fan base and the rest of the country.
What kind of progress, in what ways have you seen the progress as a whole from the offensive line?
Tremendous. I mean, even from I wasn't practicing in the spring, but I was on the sidelines with them. it's been tremendous improvement since spring to fall camp to now. There's always still stuff we need to work on, though.
Cassidy in the back.
If you had won a game last year by a touchdown, even with 12 penalties, would there have been this much disappointment surrounding it?
It's hard to say. I don't think it was much as a precedence of the unsportsmanlike penalties as it is this year than it was last year. I think we're just trying to move in a new direction. We want to get that persona of, oh, the Gators are bad. They get unsportsmanlike penalties. They're the most penalized team in the country. That's not what we want to be about, and that's not how Coach Mack wants to run the team. And honestly, that's not how I want to be perceived as either. So.
Speaking of the offensive line, what have you seen from Antonio Riles through 2 games as he continues to make that transition from defensive line to O-line?
He stepped up big for us. He was a guy transitioned from D-line to O-line, like you said, and sometimes when that happens to some guys, they either fold or get lost in the dust, really. And I think he stepped up big time for us on the offensive line, and he's played pretty well too.
Anything else, guys? Your last one.
What are the challenges of having 2 quarterbacks coming in? I mean, how do the guys handle the huddle differently and your blocking? I mean, Treon obviously runs a little bit more, things like that. I mean, how do you guys kind of got to change what you do?
I mean, honestly, we don't change much up front. We still have to block the guys we got to block, you know. Obviously, Treon runs a little bit more, can scramble a little bit better. But as far as changing the scheme up front, we don't do much of that. And O-line feels comfortable with both of them back there.
Thank you.
Last one. That the quarterbacks kind of struggle when they come in cold, as in either starting the game or when Will or Treon comes in after a couple series and then coming back in, maybe taking a drive or 2 for them to get back into a rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, like with any quarterback at this level, it's hard to get in a rhythm. And when they're coming in 2 series at a time, I guess that could be difficult for them to kind of get in rhythm with their the QB to wide receivers and things like that. But I don't think it's played a big difference in the 2 games we played so far. So.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Got Marcus Maye, good in the back. All right, open it up for questions.
Marcus, what did Alex McAllister say after the game? Was he upset about not being able to score?
Yeah, he was for the most part because I mean every D lineman's dream is to get in the end zone. I think it was like a couple seconds left in the game and he got the perfect bounce and it fell right into his hands and he said he was just going to take off running and I guess JD made a decision. I guess it was. I don't know if it was a smart decision. I guess at the end of the game, get down because game was over at that point. But as far as Alex, he wanted to get in the end zone and he had the field in front of him, so he wanted to score.
What was the reaction of you and your teammates when you saw it happen? And is that what you're taught to do?
Yeah, our coach preached us. At the end of the game, get an interception. Get down, fumble recovery, get down. Game's over with. But I mean, as far as that at that moment, I guess anybody with a instincts, get the ball and go, and I guess that's what Alex wanted to do. So.
How nice will it be to have Keanu back?
That'd be a big plus. Having him back there, just another playmaker out there on the field. With our defense. A guy that's experienced, make plays, all over the field. Just somebody back there that's just, making plays back there and, have him join us on the team.
Jared said he was taken a little aback by coach's,
Right.
emotion on the sideline. Is that, you guys had never really seen a volcanic kind of blow up like that, and what did you take from that?
I mean, we've seen bits and pieces of it, but, at that moment, he went, and I guess he was just trying to, just let Kelvin know that, that wasn't acceptable. I mean, we all know, the thing that he did, it's a penalty. So, I mean, just coach always harps on the sportsmanlike, just the small things that, help, that doesn't help us win, and that everything that does is just hurt ourselves.
What did you see from Quincy Wilson filling in for Vernon?
For the most part, I feel like Quincy did a great job. Other than that first, quarter touchdown that happened, but after that, Quincy locked back in and he played great. He was physical on the line of scrimmage. He made a bunch of tackles and stuff like that. So, Quincy's, anybody that can step in there. Right. That's a big loss. I mean, as long as I Mike Backer, he makes plays all over the field. He communicates very well. He's a guy that we can trust and a guy that's been in the defense for, 2 or 3 years now. Not having him out there is definitely a loss because, he's one of our playmakers on defense.
Kevin on the left.
How do you balance playing with passion and emotion and not crossing the line and maybe getting a penalty here or there and unsportsmanlike or something?
You just have to know, what you're doing at that time. Everybody's out there playing with passion and energy, and it's just a heat of the moment thing. But you also have to know, if anything that you do, it's just a celebration, the time and all that kind of stuff. It's not acceptable, and it's a 15-yard penalty. And coach, he doesn't allow it, so you have to know when and when can you do stuff.
Zach in front.
You guys talked about all offseason being the best defense in the nation.
Right.
There's a lot of talk from fans and media about DBU. Right now, you guys are 88th in the country in passing yards allowed. Do you feel like you're living up to the standards you set for yourself?
I mean, of course not. I mean, we had a players-only meeting yesterday, talked about the game and stuff like that, because, I mean, it's not acceptable with the amount of yards we've given up and stuff like that. For the most part, we have everybody back now, and we have to live up to that, standard if we're going to talk about it. And it's just small stuff we harped about, just, getting a line and just, getting balls down, making tackles, in the secondary, and not allowing, extra yardage and stuff like that.
but the amount of yards that we was giving up, we don't accept it. So we talked about it.
When you say players only meeting, is that the whole team? Is that just
That was just a secondary. Yesterday. We just watched the film over. It was just us, had comments, about different plays and stuff like that. We just watched the film and we just had a meeting and talked about it. That's it.
In the back.
Marcus, just for you personally, how did it feel to be back out there for your first game this season and coming up, making a big play, forcing that fumble?
It felt great being out there. I was anxious to get out there. I was excited all week in practice and stuff like that. Once coach called my number, I was excited to get out there and to make a play. I was just, trying to fly around as much as I can and be around the ball and stuff like that. So I just decided to be out there and, just have an impact on the game.
With what happened last weekend and the lack of focus through the week of practice that Coach Mack talked about and several of you guys in the post game, what'll be different this week? I mean, what makes you think that it will be different?
For the most part, I feel like it wasn't really a lack of focus on the game and stuff like that. It was just a small stuff. Guys just showing up 1 or 2 minutes late and just small stuff like that, getting tape, just the small details that he harps on. But I feel like, this week we're going to SEC play. We have to win these games. So, I mean, we all know, we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to, take a step off of anybody, look at anybody the wrong way that we're playing against. So for the most part, I feel like we all going to come into this week, focused and, locked in, ready to play. So.
Anything else? Cassidy in the back. We'll finish up from there.
Right.
Wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
Right.
The fact that 2 games in, even in a win, it was such a disappointment. What does that kind of tell you about the process, I guess, Max trying to implement here?
Yeah, and that was one of the first things when he came in was, the things that we did to, beat ourselves. And he told us right away that he wasn't going to allow us to, beat ourselves because we could be that good if we don't, beat ourselves. And I felt like he harps on it, a lot, in practice, when we're down in the locker room and stuff like that, just the small details that can affect us, on the field. And for the most part, the less penalties that we get, that's just a bigger chance for us winning.
And then we'll finish up with Nick.
Kentucky's quarterback, probably Patrick Towles, probably one of the most experienced guys coming back in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Threw for 3 touchdowns against you guys. You were able to pick him off 3 times, but he can also run.
Yeah.
Big kid. What's the struggle with a quarterback who's big, can run, and has a good arm as well?
We faced him last year, and he did. He's a pretty good dude. He has a good arm. He can move. He can see over the pocket and stuff like that. So, going playing against him, we just have to send a lot of pressure, keep him in the pocket, don't allow him to use his feet, and make him be one-dimensional. So, we can shorten him up, have him not be able to use his feet and throw the ball down the field. So we just have to play him the right way, and I'm pretty sure coach will, have a plan for that.
And then with Alex Anzalone out, Mac mentioned you guys might be in the dime more. How comfortable are you and Marcel Harris specifically coming down into the box and filling that role?
We're very comfortable. I mean, we have the size and we have the speed and the ability to tackle in the box, cover and stuff like that. Just whatever coach needs us to do, we can do it because I mean we've done it, with 2 or 3 years playing the dime position and stuff like that. So.
All right. Thanks, guys.